Welcome back to Cards and Comics. Today I have my YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame video. A little later than most. First of all, I didn't know if I was even going to do one this year. I've never done one. This is my first. I wasn't aware of it until last year to begin with. And from a sports card YouTube world, I'm very removed from most of the creators who created the Hall of Fame. I'm not in direct contact with any of those folks. I didn't even know this existed again until last year when I saw some videos. So I felt a little odd last year. I felt like it was a little bit of one part of YouTube I wasn't really involved with. So I didn't feel like I would be welcome to some extent to make a vote. This year I feel much more comfortable. I feel like, I have a voice, so I should just, say what I think. And it's supposed to be fun and it's lighthearted. I thought about doing something really fun and kind of anti-establishment, but Carlos already did that, so I'm going to let him own that space for now. Because it is supposed to be fun, but it is also kind of silly, right? Now, before I even get really started into this, who I picked, I want to get into the fact that some folks voted for me for the Sports Card Hall of Fame, and I think that is amazing, and especially coming from content creators who I think are much better at this than I am. First up is Clemente Collector Theo. The guy is really passionate and amazing what he does. And he was with me when I picked up my 68 3D at the National, and it was a shared experience. Very cool. He documented a lot of it because I was busy, trying to do a deal, and he actually videotaped some of it for me. So it was amazing. He did a great job, and I've always will thank him for that, and the fact that he voted for me again is really, really great. Junk Wax Hero, that channel is growing incredibly fast. He does great videos, great interviews, just a great, member of the sports card community. And I feel like his channel is going to be one of those that emerge from the pack as being, top tier content creator. And he's already interviewed lots of great folks and quickly has surpassed me. He's not, I guess, eligible until next year, but I think he will get into the Sports Card Hall of Fame fairly easily at the trajectory he's on, because he's just doing some amazing content. And my friend Dustin, Sports Card Dad, who voted for me, which is really amazing considering that Dustin is in, again, another stratosphere in terms of just how his channel runs, daily content, tons of subscribers, just really hitting a lot of metrics that I just don't have. And I feel like for him to pay attention to my channel, he actually interviewed me. He was one of the first people who had me on his channel early on, who really helped me grow into a viable channel with more than 20 to 40 views per video. So I really respect the fact that he takes the time to talk to creators who don't have as big of a soapbox and a voice, and takes time to call them out and shout them out and give them a voice. So he's always done that. So for people who don't think that Dustin is, has kind of, gotten too big, no, he still pays attention to the little guy. And I think that is always going to be part of his character, which I really, really appreciate, because there's people in this hobby that don't do that. Sports card nonsense, I mean, throwing that out there is like, those guys could really give a soapbox to a lot of people, and they don't. And I really feel like Dustin takes the time to do that. So I really appreciate him doing that. Now, going into what I did, for this first ballot, because this is just me doing it for the first time, I just picked the channels that got me into making content or got me into thinking about content that I really watched. And so there's not going to be, I wouldn't correlate who I'm going to talk about next into sort of like how I collect or the things I love, because it won't be quite that straight. It's going to be people who I find entertaining, or people who I am just liked watching when I first thought about getting into YouTube. So, and I feel like that they deserve my vote because to me, they are the reason I got into this to begin with. And so we'll start out with kind of in some sort of order, but I wouldn't put too much stock in that either. But the first one I'm going to talk about is PackerCards 87. Really an interesting channel because when we talk about metrics, the guy has almost 100,000 subscribers. I mean, that is huge. It's a channel that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. And I think a lot of people think that he's a breaker, but if you really get down to it, he opens a lot of packs for himself. He does a lot of collecting for himself. And and the content that he does that I really love is when he does these random pack openings. And he's only a football card collector, so his content is very focused, which I love. And these random pack openings, and he's hit some really cool stuff out of random packs. And he also talks about the reality of card collecting, how it got more expensive. So early on, he was doing a lot more expensive packs or let's say higher end packs. And, you know, he's like, yeah, I can't afford to do all those like I used to. You know, I got to do some cheaper packs because things have gotten more expensive. And I really appreciate that he's not trying to project this idea like, you know, I have endless money and, you know, anyone can open up flawless every day kind of stuff. And he doesn't do that. And I really like that. And he's just an entertaining guy. And I feel like watching him open product is just a lot of fun. And he was one of the first guys I really watched when I got back into watching YouTube. Second is baseball card collector, investor, dealer. I, you know, identified with Chris, you know, for a lot of reasons. One is, you know, he does a lot of things I do. Like I've done the dealer side. I've set up at a lot of shows. I've, you know, bought tons of cards from the same time period, grew up in the same time period. So I feel like we've had almost a similar collecting career. And so I really relate to a lot of his videos. On a content side, I like his story videos more than I like the, you know, when he talks about, you know, the highest sales recently, or he goes into auction prices. So, you know, I don't watch a lot of his content when he talks about those kind of things. But when he goes into stories or, you know, deals and things like that, that are more relatable to me, that's the kind of videos I really like. But he's the OG and he's got 65,000 subscribers, huge channel. But I do feel it's interesting that that compared to, you know, PackerCards 87, it's got 98,000. So it just shows you like there are channels out there that you don't realize are so big until you really see their content following. Another channel that's really huge that people who like hockey really know is Zere, you know, which originally I think started as a gaming and hockey card channel. The guy is infinitely watchable. He has so much channel lore that it's insane. It's really like he has built, you know, I don't know like how I would describe it. Like it's like Mr. Beast, or like, you know, his followers are fanatics. They love watching him, and he's just doing hockey cards, and he's grown a huge channel on just hockey cards. Think about that, guys. Like, you know, for a sport that isn't the most popular, you know, of all the sports, and for him to have such a big channel, created so much lore. The guy is just, you know, he is kind of the king of of that kind of content. And I'm surprised more people don't kind of mimic his style, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Like, I do think there's someone who's very similar to him in baseball, who I actually voted for as well. But Zere is he is so watchable. Even if you don't like hockey cards, watching him open product, watching him do edits and just the content, the lore, it's just a lot of fun. And I do collect hockey, so it makes sense for me. But yeah, for people who know hockey, this guy is a legend. Next up is, again, with the hockey, because I'm Carlos, for a lot of reasons. One is, you know, I think Carlos has a unique voice. You know, he definitely is well thought out in his criticisms or his thoughts on the hobby. You know, he's had me on, and I've had him on my channel, so there is that connection. You know, I'm not going to pretend I don't, you know, pay attention to people who talk to me. You know, I'm a human. You know, that matters to me. If someone's going to reach out to me and have a discussion with me, I think that's cool. And I think that makes those kind of content creators more, someone I want to follow. And but I think he just has such a unique voice, and it's not all just slapstick. He's got a lot of thought behind it too. So, and he's just a really nice guy, and I think that's another thing too is, if you're going to have that kind of unique voice, but you're like just a jerk, I think that would eventually rub people wear thin over time. And he does it in a way that I think is very much as a joke and as a as a somewhat as a shtick, but also with meaning behind it, and it creates a lot of fun videos that he does, and he's done a lot of great things. And I think that's the thing is like I think he has created this unique space on YouTube for himself, and he is a very entertaining guy. Next up is Sports Card Dad Dustin. I almost always watch his videos to some extent. If they pop up, whether or not I agree with everything that's on there. It's just, he's got such a big, voice in the hobby. For honestly, 20,000 subscribers is huge, but you just saw other channels with 60, 98,000, subscribers. But he gets a lot of people, a lot of views, a lot of people who, interact with him, because he is someone who interacts with you, and that's pretty important. I think having, his daily content and his ability to interact with people and bring up topics on a daily basis is very cool. And I really appreciate again him taking time to at least talk to me and kind of want to understand my viewpoint on cards and collecting, which is all the reason I got into this, was to have a bigger community, to find people who wanted to talk about sports cards, and to kind of rebuild the community I lost when I moved to New York. And I think I've done that to some extent. Still working on it, and I'm hoping to continue to grow my network of friends and hobby buddies, as I go along in this YouTube journey. But Dustin, I count as someone on that journey. Next is Neo. He was really early in my channel viewing. First of all, that he collected both cards and comics. Obviously, is how I envision myself on YouTube. When I first started the idea of my channel, I had the name Cards and Comics like from day one, in terms of like what I thought my channel would be focused on. Neo actually started out his channel as just Northeast Ohio sports cards, I believe, or collectibles or something like that, and then he switched it to Cards and Comics later, which I had already started YouTube when he made that change, and I kind of was like sending a few messages like, hey, like I've already got that name. But in fact, I get a lot of people, well, not a lot, but some people confuse my channel with his channel, and I get messages meant for Neo quite a bit. I doubt Neo gets many messages for me by mistake. I think I get more, hey Neo, and I'm like, I'm not Neo, different guy. We both have glasses, so like maybe it's easy to confuse us, but no, I'm not that guy. But I do think, our channels are somewhat similar in that we both do cards and comics, but we collect a lot of different things. And I think, how we collect, what we collect is different, but he's gotten into 90s and some vintage. And I love the fact, that he's getting into, different areas of collecting. Love to see that, that he's, branching out to other areas that are more interesting to me. So when those videos come up, I'm really interested. On Instagram, when he posts his Manny Ramirez and Indians cards from the 90s, just love it. We interact some, we talk. He bought a card that I traded to a dealer, a Spider-Gwen card. So we've come across each other at the National. So I don't say we're buddies, but we've had some interaction, and he's a good dude. And like I said, he is infinitely interesting, and people, really, I think, react to him because he's just very so matter of fact and straightforward guy. The one thing that is interesting to me is because when I went on YouTube, I thought I'm going to be the card and comic guy, and Neo owns that world. Like if anyone wants to talk to anyone in the card universe about comic books, they go to Neo. So I'm not even in that conversation, even though I've been collecting comic books, and I specialize in more Golden Age and Silver Age books and modern variants. So I do a very unique type of collecting of comic books. So like maybe that's just too unique and not as broad as maybe Neo does, but it's very interesting that he is the card comic guy in the hobby. So Reggie collects. Anyone wants to talk to a card guy about comic books, they bring Neo in. So maybe one of these days I'll be thought of in that way, but right now Neo owns that space 100%, which is why I think the guy really deserves a lot of credit, because he's covering a lot of territory compared to other people in the hobby. So and does daily content. So he does a lot. So a lot of work, and I think he is very entertaining. Next up is Striker Breaks. Now this is, Striker definitely is someone who is very watchable. Like he has, again, he's the one I want to say is he's like the Zere of baseball cards. A lot of people would say Pac-Man is. I would pick Striker over Pac-Man 100 times out of 100, because Pac-Man to me is he's just not as watchable as Striker. Striker has lore, he has things he collects, things that he loves, things that it's just he's a lot of personality. I'll watch him open up 89 Bowman Tiffany sets. I mean, he does things I like to collect. He does things I don't care about collecting, but I still watch. Just does a lot of these comparison videos where he opens up different types of products and compares them. He talks about value and a lot of the stuff he's just opening for himself too. So just really like watching him. He's grown a huge following, almost 50,000 subscribers. So, he's someone who probably doesn't care about the Sports Card Hall of Fame, but I think he's someone that is highly watchable, highly entertaining. Again, if I was like a Fanatics, I would be wanting getting guys like StrikerZ, Zere on my platform, breaking, even if they're just breaking for themselves, and doing review videos. That would be highly entertaining. So really enjoy his content, just because, again, if I see a product I want to know more about, he's to me the guy on baseball cards I want to hear from, because again, it'll be fun and entertaining. And last but not least is Tyler Short. I really started watching his videos, and he's been around for like 5 years, but only done about 200 videos, so it doesn't have a high output of content, but he's kind of making more content, more recently. The video that really got my attention was a couple weeks ago. He did the sports car crash video. He did a great job outlining, the pricing, why the market, it has crashed comparatively, a lot of metrics, and he does a lot of cool stuff. He does, a lot of grading, a lot of financial analysis, a lot of pricing analysis. He does, a lot of content, how to sell cards on eBay, how to grade cards, a lot of 101, videos. So he does a lot of stuff, but he's entertaining. He's well thought out, and he does a good job presenting his information. I think he's someone who's been around for 5 years and has done a lot of cool content, and I feel like it's someone who doesn't get a lot of attention. He's got 4,000 subscribers, which is 4 times I do, but I feel like he's someone you don't hear as much about, but he does great content. So that's my votes. I think these are the guys that I really like watching. It's not everyone, I watch a lot of other content, but I think these are the guys that I would go with for this, for this time around. And it's really just based on, videos and people I really caught early my attention to get into this kind of area. And I really feel like that they have put in the work and are entertaining and have something to say and have created content that's worth people checking out. So let me know what you guys think. And hopefully you guys, continue to check out my content. I'm going to be doing a lot more, hopefully, fairly shortly, as I'm, getting over, all the stuff and sicknesses and work things I've been dealing with. I feel like I've got more time coming up in the future. So hopefully you see more content from me coming to you guys very shortly on Cards and Comics. I'll see you next time. Bye.